The week began with a photo call in George Square publicising the campaign being run by James Kelly to abolish the Offensive Behaviour at Football Act. On Wednesday, in a non-binding vote, the Parliament supported the calls to abolish this ill-conceived piece of legislation. There is strong feeling amongst the opposition parties that this act is now discredited. The public consultation on the subject received more than 3,000 responses, and the organisation Fans Against Criminalisation has highlighted that this legislation discriminates against football fans as it criminalises behaviour which is not considered criminal in any other context. The government have argued that to repeal the Act sends the wrong message about our commitment to tackling sectarianism as a country. The will to eradicate sectarianism is not in doubt, but it's not going to be achieved with poorly drafted laws which do nothing but make criminals of innocent football fans. I was surprised to learn that Glasgow has a whisky distillery. I just had to visit it. Not for the reasons you might think, but because whisky is Scotland's top export, worth about £4 billion to the Scottish economy. Right in the heart of the Gorbals, this huge plant sits happily next to a residential area. The Strathclyde Distillery arranged a tour for me this week to see how green whisky is made. Although now owned by Chivas, whisky has been distilled there since 1928. The site employs 65 people, most of whom live within the Glasgow area. In fact, some of the surrounding high-rise flats literally look right onto the site. In order to be classified as Scotch whisky, it can only be made in Scotland from yeast, cereals and water. It must also be matured in Scotland for a minimum of 3 years, in oak caskets with a capacity of no more than 700 litres. It is a protected product, and at any one time there are over 50 cases in the courts around the world challenging any product which attempts to give the appearance of being Scotch whisky by using tartan on the label. I promise I didn't sample the product while I was there, but I did get a sniff of fermented grain. Many of Strathclyde University's chemical engineering students do their placements there. It's all very impressive. This week I spoke in Sandra White's members' debate on conditionality. Conditionality is essentially based on the idea that certain conditions will shape people's behaviour and ensure that they comply with specific rules in order to receive benefits. It could be by making their regular signing on appointment or by participating in a work programme. But the conditions have got more onerous over recent years, to the point where they have become controversial. This is highlighted in Ken Loach's movie, I, Daniel Blake. 6 universities, including Glasgow University, produced a report on how sanctions are applied. It's shocking reading. Young people, for example, are sanctioned more regularly than any other group, although disabled people are also amongst the groups most penalised. Sanctions can stop someone's benefit for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or 26 weeks. That's astonishing. So people who need the support of the state and have no other means are forced into destitution or would starve if it wasn't for the existence of food banks. And the most important fact of all is that sanctions are not even effective. I've been fighting Glasgow City's case for a better financial deal from the Scottish Government. This week I asked a question to the Minister, Derek Mackay. I asked him why Glasgow's council budget has been cut by £130 million. This is proportionately a bigger cut than the cut to Scotland's budget being handed down by Westminster. He didn't give me a direct response to this point. I also asked the Minister whether he would look at giving more autonomy to councils to be able to raise more of their own funds. He did agree to look into this. The forthcoming budget for councils has been delayed, so I called on the government to consider the implications of this delay on the third sector who are waiting to hear how their budgets might be affected. Given their vital role in caring for vulnerable people, this is becoming an urgent matter. Council tax was debated this week and the Parliament voted for modest reforms to the system. In 2007, Nicola Sturgeon said council tax was in need of fundamental reform. She said that tinkering around the edges was not good enough. The measures taken this week are essentially that, tinkering around the edges. Houses in bands E to H will see an increase in their council tax from next year. There is controversy around the fact that the funds raised will be ring-fenced for educational attainment. This is unprecedented, as normally funds raised would remain with the local authority. This undermines local democracy. However, I did vote for the reform, as it is at least a small step which may close the attainment gap.